All right, we on again?
Woo, we're back.
We're back again for DNT, Daryl and Ty. And what are we going to talk about today, Ty?
Today is the Obsession episode because everyone's watched it, including his old ass.
Yeah, I watched it just because both of my sons, Ty here and Kenji,
I glazed the hell out of it.
yes, and we would have Kenji loved it too. We would have had him here as a special guest for another young voice to talk about it. But he's at a national debate tournament, so he isn't here today. Couldn't be with us. But anyway, so Ty, why'd you like the movie so much?
Well, it was scary as hell. I was deeply unsettled the entire movie, and I don't really watch that many horror movies. He showed me some of the classics. We watched like Alien, The Thing, Exorcist. Yeah, like some of the old ones, but it's like they're kind of dated by today's standards. They weren't like that scary to me. I watched them not that long ago either, so it wasn't like I was 12 years old and coming out of my mother's womb just to see like The Exorcist, like
Oh well,
or whatever.
he and his brother was more adventurous when he was really little, but he's now really scared about horror movies. He doesn't want to see anyone. Whereas Ty now he can handle horror movies. So yeah, we did watch The Exorcist about 6 months ago or something like that.
Yeah, something like that, but it wasn't that bad. I feel like I still wasn't that scared for that, But like Obsession, man, I watched it with one of my friends. It was terrible. The whole 2 hours, man. After like about 30 minutes in the movie, I was shivering in my timbers. I was fully uncomfortable the entire time. Like I've never sat in a movie theater and just like begged for each scene to be like the last scene. Like every single time a scene came up, I was like, please let this be the climax. Let me get out of here. Like I was so uncomfortable. And that's the mark of a good movie. It makes you feel. And I feel like it made me feel a lot.
Well, why did it make you feel so uncomfortable? What was spooky or?
Yeah, obviously we talk about the psychological thriller aspect of it, right? And we'll get more into that in a second. But the thing that I've been glazing a lot with like my friends and stuff is like I feel like the timing is so good. And there are gonna be spoilers for this episode.
Oh yeah, spoilers.
Spoiler everywhere, bro. If you haven't watched the movie, bro, if you haven't watched the movie, turn this shit off and go watch it. Oh my lord. But anyway, yeah.
The time.
Yeah, no, I think the timing is great, man. I immediately was gonna launch into a spoiler because like obviously everyone knows the brick scene, right? Where like she gets her fucking head smashed against the brick. You can see that coming from a mile away. As soon as they got in the car together, you're like, oh yeah, she's fucking dead. Like, she's fucking got her. Right. But like I thought they were at least gonna have like I thought it was gonna be very actually I can't spoil Game of Thrones too. Right? We can't have that many spoilers in one thing, but
sure you can. I mean, people, you just
fuck it. You know what? Yeah, like there's some Game of Thrones spoilers in here too. Whatever. Go watch Game of Thrones as well. But I feel like in Game of Thrones, it's really common that you'll have like a very like emotionally deep scene. Where like a character will explore some kind of emotional vulnerability or whatever. Like even like really early. Remember Yoren?
Mm-hmm.
He's like the guy who's like yeah. You remember?
I think I remember he is.
Yeah, like long hair, nice watch. Like he goes to recruit.
Yeah.
He has that one really long dialogue with Arya about how he like someone killed his brother, and then he like waited forever to get revenge, and the guy came back in town. He was like, I buried an axe so deep in his head, like blah blah, right? And then like literally the next scene he gets fucking killed. Like I think it's that kind of thing where they get like kind of a side character and they build him up with like some really emotionally intimate scene, and they just immediately kill him off. And I thought for Obsession, it was going to be a similar kind of thing, where they're going to have this nice thing. And, he was going to open the acceptance letter and Sarah was going to get accepted and they were going to kiss. And it was going to be like, wow, that's really sweet. And then like the next morning, like she just gets fucking annihilated by, by Nikki. But they did not wait. He did not even get to open the fucking letter, bro. Out of nowhere. Like she just gets fucking smashed against. I was like, what the hell? I thought they were going to kiss at least. Nah, they didn't even get the chance to do that. Like, right as they're building to the moment, it gets completely shattered by that. Like, and that shocked me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I knew the death was coming, and it still shocked me just because the timing was so unexpected.
Well, and that's really important, the timing, because I've seen a million horror films, and been around a while, and and especially the ones that are less creepy and more violent. The violence, somebody's gonna get killed, they're gonna get their head cut off, there's gonna be blood spattering, whatever. So you get kind of immune to that. So timing is really important so that it gets you when you're kind of not expecting it. And so yeah.
Were you expecting it?
Well, no, I actually wasn't. But yeah. I mean, and it was kind of shocking when it happened. I I won't say that it like scared me or made me tremendously uncomfortable. I mean, it was really violent. Which it's kind of like, well, Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood when, they're smashing the face against the, hearth, the mantle and the
Right.
fireplace. It's like,
Jesus.
because
Yeah, yeah.
when somebody's face is getting smashed, and it actually sympathetically makes my, it makes me feel really gross.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, so in that way, it was uncomfortable, but I think, like for me, it's I don't know if you call it the psychology, but just the layers of, we're just trying to figure out kind of what's going on because, Ty's younger brother Kenji, he thinks of it more as sort of a straightforward horror film, and he just liked it on that basis, right? That it's really about Nikki and her, being possessed or whatever's going on with her and making her do these horrible things that are scary, right? But I and Ty, actually, I can't take full credit for this. Ty kind of clued me into this because he saw I was like halfway through the movie, and he mentioned, "How do you like it?" So I said, "Well, so it's okay, but it's just seemed kind of standard that the person's getting weird and whatever, and and so but he said, well, think about the guy, right? Baron, why is he staying with this person when she's acting so weird? And so I was like, oh, okay. So I started to look for that more, to try to think about it from his perspective. Yeah, why is he doing that? What's going on? And I think, for me, it propels the movie. So just to say, I like it. It propels the movie above just horror, although it's good as a horror movie. But it gets into another layer of meaning that has to do with Baron, his character, that's really about him and his issues, not about just this girl going crazy because she's under this spell. But
Oh, totally. I just got like a chill, like listening to talk about it, like, oh,
yeah,
because I think the really creepy thing is Bear. It has nothing, almost nothing to do with Nikki. It's the fact that because Nikki, yeah,
she's innocent victim, really, of the whole thing.
well, and not only that, but like Kenji said, like that's just horror. That's like extra, the supernatural, like no real person. Like, I mean, like, there are people who are totally like off the deep end and will do crazy ass shit, but like, some of the things she did were clearly, clearly demented, clearly possessed, whatever, right? Like, I think the really creepy part is that there are people like Bear who totally do exist out there. like there are a lot of dudes who are just like that. You know
But what do you mean like that? What was creepy about him, aside from, let's say, the magical spell and all that,
Right.
and how, but just his character in general?
Well, I mean, so let's talk about the theories, right? Like, I think the
Wait, actually, before you go, I just want to make it clear to everybody out there. I haven't read any reviews of the movie. I haven't, heard any, interviews with the writer director. So this is just my opinion, and I don't know about you.
I have. I've seen fan theories, right? I'm on the internet. Like, I've seen some of the shit, and some of what I'm talking about definitely is, clip from fans. Other stuff is just stuff that I kind of think, or I mean, it's all you mash them together.
Yeah, but anyway, you were going to say about Baron's character.
But yeah, about Bear, like the I think the thing that's really like weird or creepy to me is that like, yeah, like there are like totally there are people, and it's not just that there are people, like there's some stranger. Like I think all of us have some of that in us where it's like, you always talk about looking at someone you love through like the rose tinted glass, and it's really easy, especially for people who are less experienced like me, when it comes to love to meet someone for the first time.
Even when you're experienced, it's very easy to see somebody through rose-colored glasses. And even though your intellect, your experience is telling you, "Hey, be careful," don't you still let things slide. You look the other way, and then after the fact, you realize, you know what, I knew it, but why didn't? So you're not. This is a. It doesn't matter how old you are, how much experience you have, whatever. That's common. Yeah.
Totally. You can get hit with the most ridiculously obvious red flag of all time and just be like, bro, it's like, but
and I have.
No, same, yes. Low-key. And it's like, but and it's a really delicate balance to walk, because there's definitely a degree to which I believe anyway that you should I think it's a sin in modern dating, if anything, that people are way too quick to just discard other people, everyone says it, but nobody's perfect, and like people have their imperfections, people have their flaws, people have red flags, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, you can't just like fucking, throw away every person at the first sign of trouble, because it's like everyone's going to have some signs of trouble, But then where do you draw the line, you know? And it's really easy to say, no, I'm just sticking with this person because I love them, you know, and they love me. And it's like, that's what people do who love each other. Like, we stick with each other. We work through problems. And then all of a
For
sudden,
better or for worse, in sickness.
yeah, exactly. And all of a sudden, she's fucking slamming your friend's head against a fucking brick, you know? And it's like, what the hell?
Well, no, and we've seen even psychopaths who have, partners who, and then you know
Totally.
them. I mean, look at Epstein and Ghislaine
Yeah, it's
Maxwell.
like,
You
yeah,
know
yeah.
what I mean? It's like-
Jizzland.
yeah,
And I think that nickname is so
yeah.
I'm sorry.
I
But,
hadn't even heard that.
yeah,
Yeah.
because like
How
Jizzland,
I know? How could I miss that?
perfect. Anyway,
I'm not the most mature person in the world either. Yet I never. Go ahead. Yeah. So his character, yes. So you think he's see, because that's the thing. If you look at the movie, then I think it's about him, not her. I mean, he is obviously the main character, but it's really about his psychology.
yeah.
I mean,
Basically his obsession.
yeah, I'll just say, like, in the end, overall, I think the movie, he's responsible for everything. It's not
Yeah,
just that he
totally.
does the spell, but I think the psychopathic behaviors that Nikki exhibits under the spell is because of him. It's a reflection of his own obsessive nature and his own sort of instability, that his wish to love somebody more than anybody in the world, whatever, it's a reflection of the way he would do that, to be that obsessive. And it's one of the reasons why I think he sticks with her, is because that's kind of what he would sort of expect in a way. This person is so devoted to these crazy things. And yeah, he doesn't like it. Saying, gee, I don't know, maybe I should, hey, can you cool? Yeah, but it's him who's making her behave this way. And that's why the movie starts with him being really awkward, right? So that because that's what I said when Ty came in halfway through me. It's like, I'm not sure, why is Nikki behaving this way. It's one thing to love somebody obsessively, but it doesn't necessarily express itself in psychopathic behavior. It might express itself in clinginess, excessive apologizing. I mean, she apologizes a lot, but only after doing these horrible things. A lot of people are madly in love with others, and they don't do horrible, violent, or unstable things, right? And so why is she behaving? Because her character set up in the beginning is she's totally normal, right? I mean, she's an interesting person, right? Not like just everybody else. She, I guess, is writing or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she seems to be like an interesting person,
Oh, the book is so disturbing.
right?
You just
But-
remind me of
right,
that. Oh my
but,
god.
but she's not like crazy, and yet, but we saw him in the beginning before all this goes down, and he's weird,
weird,
right?
yes.
He's really awkward. He just doesn't know how to act around people and stuff.
Got barbiturates in his fucking
and that's
medicine
it.
cabinet.
And,
for
the
some godforsaken
medicine
reason.
cabinet thing kind of is weird to me, because it's not his name. It says Barbara.
Yeah, I don't.
Which I was like, is that his mother's or something? But you never see parents of any of these people, and you don't really actually know exactly how old they are. They're young people. Are they students? Are they high school? Are they college? Are they just young adults working now after high school? We don't really know, but you don't see parents or anything. They all have houses, they have cars,
Yeah.
right? And then you see the label on the prescription medicine, and it says Barbara. It's not Baron or Bear. But I wonder about that. If if we're supposed to take that as like a literal truth, or as some sort of, maybe that's how he sees it or something. I don't know. But anyway, but that's
Yeah, I have no idea.
one thing I'm not sure about what to make of that. But at any rate, it's clear. And look at the way he reacted to his cat's death, right? He just breaks down and cries. He's like, I mean, yeah, we get emotion about our pets and stuff, but I think they're just they're trying to set him up as being really emotional, unstable, and awkward. Like he's not quite normal. And that's why his wish of what he thinks mad love is like gets put on to Nikki, and why she's behaving the way she is. And you notice some of the things she does is what he might do in that situation, because you wonder, why does she kill his buddy, right? After it's revealed that his buddy had been messing around with her, right? Because Baron would be really pissed
Jealous,
at that,
yeah.
and he'd want feel like killing him, right?
Mhm.
So another thing Kenji said, well, then why does he kill? Why does she kill Sarah? Why would
Right.
he want to do that, right? And that, but it could be. I was thinking, yeah, that's a good point. That's why Kenji thought it was really about Nikki being
Because he
psychopath.
feels guilty about
Yeah,
her.
right. Well, it could. Yeah, it could. That's a good point, which I didn't think about. Maybe some sort of guilt because he has feelings for her when it should be for Nikki, who he wants to be madly in love. Um, but it could also be, bearer of bad news, kill the messenger. She was the one that told him that Nikki is
That is also
messing around with his buddy. What's his name again?
Ian. Yeah.
Ian. I was going to say it, but I forgot. Anyway, so maybe that's why he's mad at her. Or it could just be that if imposing his kind of personality, his awareness onto Nikki, the fact that he might want to kill his friend, he might want to kill Sarah if you were Nikki's idea of mad love, right? So
Yeah, that is true. If
so
you're
that
thinking
could
of like, oh, love
right.
me more than well, she should be jealous.
Well,
If
she should
actually
be
loves him.
right,
Yeah.
which is why when they're playing the
Yep.
games, at the party, she gets all just super
Yeah.
jealous, right? Because that's how he would be, super jealous, right? So that's how I would explain it
Oh my god, the
consistently.
party is
Yeah,
so uncomfortable.
exactly.
Dude, when she stands up and she just does the fucking Hansel and Gretel thing. Oh, I'm like, what the fuck? Dude, I remember I was looking at my friend in the theater and we were both just like you're just getting progressed. She's like skin the forearm, and it's like an incest story. And there's some interesting fan theories about that. One of the fan theories um, is that was the real Nikki partially writing that, right? If you follow the theory that Nikki's like kind of possessed,
Yeah.
and that there is like a real Nikki inside there.
Oh,
We can talk
definitely.
about
Which
that.
we'll get to that.
We can get
too.
to that, but let's follow the theory, right? Because the I think the simplest interpretation you can get from it is that Nikki is possessed. It's like an
Yes.
exorcist level situation, right? And you can see it in like the kill me scene and like
Yes.
the the other shit. And we don't believe that. I don't think either of us really have that interpretation. But like hypothetically, if that were true, I saw a fan theory that like the whole Hansel and Gretel thing was the real Nikki influencing the writing because it's like she felt like that love was wrong, right? Like she wasn't supposed to love Bear, like she didn't love Bear, right? And so she was trying to like that expressed itself in her writing in making it an incest story. It's like this is a forbidden love that is wrong.
Well, that's really interesting because I wasn't thinking that deeply into that story.
I know I wouldn't have either. I was just like, oh, that's disgusting.
But I want to finish off with one other thing about how she's an expression of his feelings and instability.
Yeah.
Because he kills himself, right? And you notice like immediately after he does, she's gonna kill herself, right? That's what he would do until she's broken of the spell. And then she doesn't want to kill herself because that's not what the real Nikki would do, right? It's his idea of what you should do when you've lost your loved one, when everything goes sour, right?
Yep. And I actually totally agree with your theory, and I would add one interesting detail onto it because there was another fan theory that I saw that kind of goes under the possession narrative, but it's an interesting twist on the possession narrative. It's not that Nikki's just possessed by some, fucking wish spirit or whatever. It's that she's possessed by like the spirit of his cat because his cat, right? He wishes that she would love him more than anyone ever. Yeah. Who loves him more than anyone ever? The only thing that does is his cat, who dies at the beginning of the movie, right? And they are very intentional about showing the cat's death. And maybe the reason for that is that the cat's spirit is the thing that ends up taking over Nikki. And she has some cat-like behaviors, right? So her movements are very cat-like. She like
that's right, the way she was moving in the creepy scene.
She's like standing in the corner in the dark,
watching him
like a cat
just watching.
Exactly. And at one point she has that scene where he comes back and she's like covered in like vomit and like defecation.
Yeah.
And she says, "Oh, like I just ate a bug or whatever," right? Yeah. But if you look closely at it's cat food.
Yeah.
It's like it looks like
I was wondering what that was.
It looks like I was trying to figure that out. Yeah. But I have an interpretation that goes a little beyond that because I don't think it's a possession story. And we've talked about this before, right? I don't think it was a possession at all. I think that there is only one Nikki. I don't think the real Nikki was ever really in there,
Oh, see, but I didn't know you thought that because I think the real Nikki is in there when she's saying, kill me or whatever. And because his reaction to that is really interesting because this shows you his level of obsession that here she's behaving like, oh, weird. I don't know if I want to be in this anymore. I want to break the spell. And yet, as soon as he hears that kill me, right? And he says, "Don't you want to be with me?" Like,
Yeah, yeah,
like,
convinces
now,
himself.
now all of a sudden he wants
Right.
her again,
Yeah.
and then she says, "I was never with you," and he's really hurt by that. He still would want this person, even though she's all messed up and everything, because it's that's how weird he is, right? But anyway, gotta go back to the
That's
your idea about
really
position.
interesting, and I think that's true to some, like, I do think it's a possession at the very beginning, like, I do think that at the beginning when she's, like, the first kiss, right, when all of a sudden she, like, breaks off, like, and by the way, people talk about the scariest scene in the movie, that was actually the scariest scene in the movie. Um, yeah,
Wow.
eh, interesting reasons, but I feel like for me, like, the scariest thing would be to be in that situation because, like, in real life, I've been in kind of a, like, remotely similar situation before, like, not anything obviously like that, but just kind of a situation where you're kind of questioning is like, do they really want this, you know? And it's not like I like getting consent or anything
Right.
like that, you know, but it was just like under the circumstances, it was like I had a lot of doubt about it, right? And like
Yeah.
the scariest thing for me then would have been a reaction like Nikki's. We're halfway through, they're like, "What the fuck," you know? And I would have like,
Yeah.
and so like it brought me right back
Yeah.
there, and I was like, "Oh," like, you know what I'm saying? Like that one hit me personally,
Yeah.
you know.
But the non-possession thing.
But the
Thank
non-possession,
you for the personal.
yeah, of course.
You know, he takes after me because I'll be honest. I'm a very open person about anything. But go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the at the start, right? I think she is like it's kind of like the real Nikki is in there, right? And she breaks off the kiss, and that is the real Nikki, right?
Right.
Being like confused and whatever. But I think pretty quickly that Nikki is gone,
Mhm.
right? And I think by like 30 minutes in the movie, basically like that Nikki's just fucking out the window, and it's basically just the possessed Nikki. The
Well,
rest of
she's
the time.
definitely dominated by that. But it can't, well, how do you explain the kill me and part?
And so we talked about this, when you were like halfway through the movie, and I think the kill me part is actually like Nikki doesn't say anything. And you can see her lips.
That is thing is you don't see her lips moving,
Right.
which isn't, and that's what I'm wondering. Is that him and his doubts about
Exactly.
how she feels about it?
And that's what I think
The
about it.
voices in his own head.
Because if you look at what happens when the real Nikki takes over earlier in the movie,
Right.
it's not like that at all. It's not like there's this sneaky, like real Nikki that can talk while the Nikki's body is asleep. That's not how it works. She totally regains control. It's her whole body and everything. She's like, what the fuck? Like
Right.
she physically moves
Yeah.
too, right? Like the real Nikki has control over her, right? And there are some scenes where they talk about like during the party, I know like it could be thought of that maybe the real Nikki was sitting over and she was like smashing her head with a bottle, but I don't know about that one. I don't
Yeah.
remember it well enough to say
I actually was wondering about. Yeah, it's not clear whether
which.
who is
Yeah,
doing
who is doing
the
that,
self harm. Yes.
And so like I don't really know. What I do know is that during the kill me scene, I really don't think that was any real Nikki taking over. I fully believe that was Bear's internal thoughts, because he's guilty and he thinks
Right.
maybe I should kill her because like you turned her into a fucking monster, dude. But then that's exactly like it's him having an internal dialogue with himself where he's like, she wants me to kill her, right? But then he's like, no, but then that's because she doesn't love me.
Well, no,
And
and that's what I would think.
it's
Is
his
that's
doubt,
it's
yeah.
his insecurity. Yeah.
Totally. And that's, but anyway, so back to the whole
Yeah.
cat thing, right? The way this ties into it is the idea, at least my idea, is not that the cat directly possesses her. I think that's low-key, it's a simple way to look at it, but it is interesting. And I do think the cat has something to do with it. I think it is what you're saying. I think it's that, in so many ways, Nikki is just molded under the wish to what Bear believes love like that should look like.
Well, again, and I would
And I think the cat is the only example he has of that
I would
love.
add to that. That's why she builds a little shrine for the cat.
Yep.
Because that's how much he cared about the cat. That's why she even feeds him the cat,
Yep.
like cannibalism, because you want it to
Yeah,
be part of you and last forever within you, right? So yeah, I mean, yeah, the details, it's hard to get everything consistent. If you analyze the whole thing and wrote out a huge, book about it, you'd probably find a way to make every detail consistent, even if they're not. And I don't know what the intent of the creators were, but in literary criticism, whatever, it doesn't really matter. Sometimes you could just say, hey, that's what comes out, whether they intended it or not. But one thing I can say is, again, so for me, as a horror film, it's a good horror film, but I think that I like that it works on these different levels. It takes it to another, and so the fact that we're even talking about it this way, and the fan sites you said you were
Mhm.
looking at, that people are all asking all these questions now, all these theories. That's great. That means it's food for thought. It's doing more than just some typical movie where you go in for a couple of hours of entertainment and then you forget about it.
Yeah.
Right. So that's good. But I wanted to bring in too that I had mentioned to Ty that it reminded me then a little bit of one of my favorite films, Vertigo, the Alfred Hitchcock movie with James Stewart and Kim Novak,
Mhm.
in that, it's about his issues, right? He's got this fantasy woman who's not real. And even though when he has like sort of a second chance with the real woman that he fell in love with, because she's not the fantasy that he thought she was, he ruins the whole thing,
Yep.
which leads to her death and his, obvious, crushing emotionally for him. And and so again, it's about how people, basically impose their ideas, project themselves into reality in a way that does not fit with reality, and to their own detriment, really, because of a certain obsession. And that's what happens with Vertigo, right?
Yeah.
So Vertigo's an all-time classic, right? And so Obsession, I wouldn't say it rises to the level of Vertigo necessarily, but it's a good movie. It makes you think about these things. I think it has some deeper meanings. Again, I don't know what I think the director also wrote the film. But it's there's more to it than just thrills.
You know he's like a comedy skit guy.
Oh,
Yeah, I read
really?
it. Yeah, he's
Wow.
like a stupid comedy skit writer on YouTube.
Wow,
really
I had no idea.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, they're like stupid skits. I mean, like they're hilarious. I think.
Well, see, I didn't. Again,
Yeah.
I read up on this. I just watched it. We're talking about it, and because I didn't do any research on the writer director, because to get a big film, and as a writer and director, what kind of background did he have? Has he done any other films? But I have no idea.
He did another like horror thriller that wasn't as popular, but it like received like some acclaim a couple of years ago, I think. But even then, like Obsession was not like a huge budget. Like it wasn't a big it kind of exploded for what it was. But it makes sense why. I mean, yeah, again, we're talking about it. I think it's very deep on a lot of levels, and I think it's really pertinent to. I mean, Vertigo is really pertinent to that message as well. And it's that's why I think it's so creepy. It's like
Well,
he
right.
does some creepy, abnormal things that don't exist in this reality. Like we don't have one with willows, whatever, right? But like there are very much guys like there,
Yeah.
and I think that you and I have some of
Right.
that in us, to some degree, yeah. When it comes to like, there's a fine line
Yeah.
between,
Oh, sure.
especially when you're with somebody, it's like you want them to grow to a certain extent, but how much is that growth your imposed values?
Right.
Are you imposing your values on them? And that's a very tricky thing to navigate. And I think that the movie does a really good job pointing that out.
Yeah. Gosh, there's something I was gonna say here, and I just I think that's, even if you the stuff we're hypothesizing about the meaning and what's going on with the psychology, even if we're like way off base, no, that's true. Still, the fact that it has that psychological element, that again adds to the horror, which is why I think you say you found it so creepy, because if it was just some psychopath doing violent things or weird things, it wouldn't be, even with the timing, right? It wouldn't have the same impact. But what makes it uncomfortable is you're wondering, like, this guy, because he's awkward and kind of makes you feel uncomfortable. I mean, he seems like a nice guy, but with all this like repressed sort of issues, and that's why I think early on in the film they established this, not only with the awkward when he's acting, like having the skip to see if he can say the right things to this woman, but it just they keep showing his face, with these kind of awkward,
I do. He's
just right. He just looks like there's something
joking.
going on.
Kirk.
Right. It's like there's something going on in this guy's head.
Yeah.
Now he's just not quite there. You don't think it's malevolent or harmful. It's just you kind of feel sorry for him, right? Because he seems like there's some issues going on here. But that's the thing. It's like they wouldn't be expressed except if you put them on somebody else, right? Who's now it's like giving full flower to this obsessive behavior, right?
Mhm.
So anyway, yeah,
Yeah, I think that is what's so creepy
yeah,
about it. It's
yeah,
on one hand, you're like waiting for like the horrific thing that she does, and that's uneasy in and of itself. It's like
right,
what next, weird, freaky like thing is she gonna
right.
do? But then like it is equally horrifying to some degree, like seeing how he's gonna react,
Yes.
because it's yeah, very it thoroughly creeped me out.
But that's why you notice all of his reactions were like kind of surprise and discomfort to her crazy stuff, except they kill me. I've never been with you. Then he's
Yeah.
like, hey,
I know.
right,
He's
right,
all offended. Yeah, he's
right.
like,
And
what
he's
the
offended.
fuck?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? So
And so like
yeah, yeah, exactly.
that's a really good point. I didn't
Yeah,
think
yeah,
about that. Yeah, that's really funny. Yeah, in so many scenes he's like scared shitless, and
right.
then in that one, all of a sudden he's like,
Yeah. And now that
"What do you
got under
mean?
his
Yeah,
skin,
like
right? It's
what
like
do you mean kill me? What you don't love me?
exactly. Exactly.
Like
Well,
it's so
yeah,
bad being with me.
yes, yeah.
That's actually so funny.
Any final thoughts on this? Before we move on to just a couple other things we can talk about today that in the news and
No, I mean
well,
I think it's a banger. I was actually the one other thing I was like really glazing about it, and it's funny because I saw the back rooms like 2 days before it or whatever, right? You've heard of it,
no,
I think.
the what?
Back rooms. It's another horror movie.
No, I
Whatever.
yeah.
It's terrible. Well, it's not okay. It's not like terrible. It's not good. And it's much more conventional kind of horror movie. It's set in this literal space, the back rooms, which is like a limitless office space that can be anything you imagine, with these different entities or whatever. It's like very like SCP. Were you like? Did you experience the SCP era?
What is the SCP?
Like Siren Head, like
See, that's how out of touch the old man
yeah,
is.
you're out of touch. Bro. There was a whole era a couple of years ago where people made this whole like fanfic like thing. It might be more than a couple of years,
Yeah.
ago, to be honest. But there was all this like it's like there are these mysterious entities that, and they're like these like alien creatures or whatever, and they're all like horrifying. Whatever. I didn't explain it very well. I don't do it justice. I wasn't that tapped
Yeah.
in. The point is, the background is this like otherworldly space kind of inside our reality, where there's these like twisted entities and whatever. And it's a boring movie. Like the whole time they're just walking through, and it's like the thing that pisses me off though is that a lot of people went to see it. Partially, I think because Obsession was so good
Yeah.
that the horror genre was like in, and then it's another horror movie.
Yeah.
Let's go watch that. Also, because of the name recognition, right? Like the Backrooms is already famous from an animation that some dude made. Well, it's not animation, but it's not like some dude made a little while ago, and so a lot of people wanted to see it. So it did decent numbers at the box office, and so like all these big stream like media articles like loop them together, and they're like the Backrooms and Obsession are making these huge numbers. Like Obsession is like oodles away from them. Like it is
Yeah.
way better a movie. It is like Backrooms did not get any reaction out of it at all whatsoever. Like it's not.
Well, that's why I normally, at my age, I don't watch a lot of these young people horror films,
Yeah.
because I saw our version of it in my, when I was younger, and I've been just like, yeah, I don't expect them to be any surprises, just kind of retreads and so forth, just with new casts and new effects or whatever. But since there was all this buzz about this movie, and both my sons said they really liked it, I thought I'd take a look at it. Yeah, I thought it was really good. And every now and then, a new one comes along that's pretty good. I often don't think they're as good as people say. Like I remember the Blair Witch Project, and that's like ancient now, but that was like a hot thing at the time. I was like, yeah, it's good, but I saw some issues that I had with it, and or the one that's I thought pretty spooky, like Dark Water or something like that. I think it was called. But for me, I go back to the classics, like Rosemary's Baby and The Exorcist and The Thing and stuff like that. So,
Do you think Obsession is as creepy as we said? Was it as good as we hyped it up to be?
well, yeah, I think overall, I think it's really good. I mean, it's a movie I would definitely recommend to others. People my age as well. If they like, just good movies, because it's not the genre or anything. I just like good movies, and it could be horror, it could be comedy, it could be drama, it could be sci-fi, it could be fantasy, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, if it's good, it's good. I can get into it. So
I agree. I think a really good movie transcends the genre. It's like there are movies for sci-fi fans that sci-fi fans would like, but there are movies for anyone. Like there are sci-fi movies that anyone would like.
Right. Exactly.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Briefly, the point I was making about backrooms is not only that they're linked together by like mainstream media articles that pisses me off because they're not even close to the same movie, but also that, I think the beauty, or one of the really beautiful things about Obsession is that it does so much with so relatively little. And I don't just mean like people always talk about the budget, and it's like, yeah, like it fucking exploded its budget, but also just in terms of the premise, like it is an incredibly simple premise, I mean, at the
Well, that's why the premise is something you typically see in young people horror films.
exactly
Like,
that are like
yeah,
kind of boring.
yeah,
It's kind of
exactly.
simple and it's
Right.
like kind of straightforward,
Yeah.
and it's like, yeah, a guy makes a wish for a
Right.
girl to fall in love with
Right.
him. Like that's a really easy premise.
Yeah.
Like at its most basic, it's like, you know, the moral of the story is careful what you wish for, and that's
Right.
like some Brothers Grimm shit
Well,
that they
that's
were writing in the fairy tale.
Faust, I mean, it's like the
Yeah,
Faustian bargain or whatever
yeah,
it is.
exactly,
Yes.
exactly, and
Yeah.
that's like thousands of
Right.
years old,
Right.
like
Well, in Possession, if there is Possession, you've got Exorcist.
also like
If you,
Middle Ages
and
shit.
just Obsession, I was telling Ty should see Fatal Attraction. That's one of these obsession sort of movies, but not meant not like horror, but scary, right? Because this person is dangerous and obsessed. But yeah, so obviously there's nothing completely new that just makes up everything whole cloth. They all draw on earlier films, right? But it does it enough in a way, a new way or a different take on it that made it really interesting.
Yeah, and I'm not, my point is that it is so basic a premise in some ways, so much a tale as old as time, but it's told in a unique and a really interesting kind of deep and insightful way, in some ways. Whereas, a movie like Backrooms or, think of any other like horror film that makes up
Yeah.
something like The Thing to some degree,
Right.
it's like they go jump through all these hurdles to make some ridiculous out of this world like horrifying creature, try to make some like unique, it's like Obsession didn't mean to do any of that, and it
Right.
like scared me way more than
Right.
any of those
Well,
movies. You know
but
what
see,
I'm saying?
that's it. Well, you talk about the psychological element. That's the thing about which you still haven't seen. We got to see is Rosemary's Baby is one of the films that always creeped me out a lot because yeah, there's no special effects. Well, very very little. I don't want to give away stuff to since Ty hasn't seen it. I don't want to spoil it for him. But it's mostly a psychological thing, right? That the main character Rosemary is just feeling extremely paranoid,
Yeah.
about well, and like The Shining, even though I know people who read the novel, they think that the movie doesn't like do the novel justice, but just the movie itself, and you get that kind of creepy psychological thing, and you keep wondering if the main character is possessed. Is there some demonic presence in the house or the hotel or whatever, or is it just this guy's going crazy? You don't know, right? And so it makes it kind of interesting on another level besides just the creepiness and the fear factor and all that.
Right. Yeah. Very interesting. I'll have to see him at some point, but not anytime soon. I'm tapped out of for the time
Yes.
being.
All right. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I was going to show Fatal Track. Say, hey, we see something.
Yeah, I
else."
did not, bro. I'm actually like this movie took a toll on me, bro. Like, thank God, this one got me good.
Well, that's how we felt when we first saw the original Alien. It was just this relentless, nonstop tension and like fear of getting killed by this horrible creature that you just felt drained after watching that. It was just, no relief at all in the movie.
I'm telling you, man, it's been like a week since I watched it, and I
Yeah.
still just a little on edge, So
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm glad they're still making good movies. Anyway,
for
but
sure.
so I want to move on to the NBA Finals.
Oh yeah.
Since we brought that up.
Hey,
we
Nixon
like
5.
sports.
I mean, unfortunately, not Nixon 4, but I did say realistically it was probably Nixon 5. You said Nixon 5. I
Well, after they
After the
won the
first
first
two
two games, yeah, I originally thought the winner of the OKC, San Antonio series
agree.
would win because OKC is a defending champion. They're basically the same team, although they had some injuries, right? But if San Antonio could get through them, surely they can get through the Knicks. Knicks have a lot of talent, especially in their starting five. But I just thought the toughness that I saw with San Antonio in that OKC series, especially out of Wemby, to be tough, which he needs to, and he totally out tough Holmgren, right? Sorry, Holmgren, man.
Oh my God,
I mean, everybody had a bad series, but you
Chet,
got outplayed there, and so I thought San Antonio would be able to beat that, and the Knicks, with a history of kind of inconsistency, folding, choking, whatever.
Yeah.
But they won the first game, so that they're probably going to win. But if San Antonio had won, was game three where they, or was it game four? I know.
Game four.
Yeah, game four where they blew that lead. If they had won that, they might have gone on to win the series. But that, what a crushing defeat that was. It just, and still they played really well. In game five, I guess that it is. And you look at the stats, and they're virtually equal: turnovers, rebounds, field goal percentage, 3-point shooting percentage, everything. It's virtually the same. The difference was Brunson. The difference is a guy who can finish, who can close when you just have to have a basket. Yeah, it doesn't get 100% of the time, but he's going to get it more often than not. Right. Whereas they don't have that on San Antonio.
Yeah.
Wemby is not that guy. And I think I saw, the post-game analysis from Shaq was right on when he said he's got to get stronger, because until he does, he cannot get in deep enough to make it a guaranteed score. Having him shoot a jump shot from the elbow like he did, earlier in the series, that is not the game-winning shot you want from him. You want him to be dunking it, or, if he were Kareem, this like almost automatic sky hook. He doesn't have that yet. And that was the difference, is when you got to crunch time, you had Brunson and Obi played great as well for most of the series. I mean, these guys were just getting it done when it needed to get done, right? And he didn't quite. And where San Antonio, again, I hate to say this, but Fox, had a lousy series.
Oh my God, Fox is a terrorist, dude. What is that?
He tried down in crunch time. He took four shots, three in a row. That he just took it upon himself, like he was going to be the guy. Well, you can't kind of blame him, because Wemby apparently is not that guy. He's going to hit the game range right. He didn't seem to want the ball.
I was going to say, Wemby is surprisingly not
passive, right? Yeah, so Fox just jacks up 3 shots in a row, then he misses, and then later he gets a kick out on a 3-pointer that he missed wide open. So he just didn't get it done. Hey, I go way back. When he was in college, man, what was it? Kentucky beat my UCLA Bruins Alonzo Ball in the NCAA tournament. And I knew from that time on, that guy's a good player, but he doesn't get it done here. And I don't know if he's kind of on the downward side of his career that the signals had, or if he'll ever get it back, but he certainly wasn't there this series.
He's not that old though. Like, and that's the thing. Like, he's not old enough for it to be like, oh, like he's passive. Yeah, he's a veteran in the NBA at this point, and it's ironic because, of course, he was like, the 22, 23 clutch player of the year.
Yeah, what happened?
But like, the funny thing is, like, he wasn't even taking like terrible shots, in the sense that, like, if he had made those shots, everyone would be blazing him. There were low-key shots that Brunson would have made.
Well, that's the difference. Brunson takes some shots, which if he missed these, you would say, dude,
yeah, you'd be like, what the fuck? Like, you're way off.
Quit forcing it, dude. But he hits him.
Dude, he just drives by like 4 guys. It's like, so he's not even fast. Like, he's just too slippery.
Well, that's why we love Brunson too, because as 2 unathletic short guys, he's our
hero. I know.
It's like that's how you play if you don't got the athleticism and the length, man. He's amazing. But of course, it's not that he's a great defender though, or anything like that. But if you need a score, this guy can get it for you.
100%. I mean, he was the difference there.
He was. That was
the stats are crazy. Spurs led for 72% of the series. Time wise.
Yep.
It's just like they still lost 4 out of 5 games.
Crunch time, who could do it and who couldn't, right?
It really didn't matter the deficit.
I know.
They're down by 29 points. They come back. Game 5. We're watching it. It's like they were down by 10 points by the fourth quarter. It's like, that's nothing. Against another team, you might say 10 points in the fourth quarter. Yeah, their odds ain't looking too hot.
But the huge comeback in game 4, though, right? I watched that, and it's not like San Antonio was playing horribly. They were just missing a lot of shots they were hitting earlier. I guess the percentages just even out. Because look, if they just hit one of those many 3-pointers they missed, or just the 2 free throws that Wemby missed, would have been a different outcome. But
they might have crumbled even more down the stretch to make up for it, right? Yeah. That's the thing. It's like, it's easy to say that, but then when you look at when people list out like all the errors they made in crunch time to like lose the game, it's like,
right.
Man,
but errors. Look at their turnovers. They didn't commit a ton of turnovers. They just weren't making shots. Now, some of them were ill-advised. And Fox trying to hit that last, that was ill-advised.
Oh, right? That actually might be the worst.
But and there were a couple, contested threes that there was, or early in the shot clock that they didn't need to take, but there were several of them were just wide open threes that you take all the time. They were hitting before and they just weren't hitting them. That happens sometimes. And but see, and that's the thing. But you can lose that huge lead and still. I mean, it didn't matter if they won. They could lose a 29-point lead and win by 1 point, and everybody's cool, right? They won.
Sure.
Win is what. But it's just when it got close, then it was like they were in big trouble because you knew. Then you got down to crunch time, and yeah, what happened happened. Yeah. Yes.
You think the Fox layup or the J.R. Smith from what was that, like 2016, where you like play?
Was you talking about the rundown? Which one?
No, the J.R. Smith play where they had like 10 seconds left on the clock. They're tied with Golden State in the finals, and he gets the ball and he thinks they're up by one, so he like starts dribbling around like
yes,
and LeBron's saying they're like,
yeah, that's bad. That's just not knowing the situation. I mean. Yeah, Fox. I don't know what's going on. I mean, he's a quick guy. I think he just thought he could do it, and so it didn't matter.
I heard the first game presser when they were like, "Why'd you do it?" And he was like, "I thought I could outrun him."
Yeah, but you still didn't need to.
Oh my god!
The clock was the thing, not the score, right? I mean, but that's the difference, right? Is doing the right thing at the right time. That's what crunch time's all about, being clutch, and San Antonio didn't have it. I was going to say they're a young team. Well, not everything. Again, Fox is a vet.
That's the ironic thing. It's like everyone's been saying like, they're a real young team. And for some players, it's definitely true. Castle in Game 5 played fucking terribly. It was 10% from the field.
Speaking of which, though, Harper. So he didn't see that. I mean, he blew that one layup.
So good.
But otherwise, he played really well the whole series.
Well, not just the layup.
He also blew some 2 free throws. Yeah. But they weren't like really choking free throws, right? The choke free throw is the short free throw, right? And I think I just remember distinctly the first one hit off the heel, I think, right? Popped out, but come on, he played well.
He is really good. I mean, for
he certainly played with more poise than some other guys on their team. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, no, and Castle too is untouchable for them. Really, I mean, people have been saying it, but it's like Dylan Harper, Castle, and Wemby are probably untouchable for the Spurs. And then you look to build around those guys. And the thing is, honestly, like Champagne should probably be untouchable too because he was fucking icing threes the entire
except Game 4 where he was like 1 for 7 or something like that. Fox was terrible on 2-pointers. And Castle hardly scored at all in the Game 5. Right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like he was 10% from the field and he choked, but he is young. I mean, he's second year. He's like barely like. That I can, when they say Spurs are a young team like that, I get that. Him, Harper, Wemby to a degree, but it's like for Fox.
But still, I mean, look, I think Wemby, has the potential to be the greatest player of all time. I mean, he's got Kareem athleticism, but with he can shoot and handle the ball, something Kareem couldn't do, and he's a fighter. He obviously is very competitive, right? He just needs to get stronger and he has to stay healthy. He can be one of the greatest players, if not the greatest of all time. However, I do put a lot of the blame for their loss in the series on him too. I mean, he scored 19 points and had 13 rebounds. Yeah. I'm happy with the 13 rebounds than the single-digit rebounds he got in a couple of the games because that's inexcusable in my opinion, even with his strength level. That's just inexcusable. He's just got to get lower. I was watching him line up on the free throw line, in the rebounding position. And the other guys were getting, Cat was getting lower than him, right? Robinson was getting lower than, you've got to get low, man. Yeah. Especially, when you're that gangly, you got to bring that center of gravity down lower to rebound. And so, he got 13 rebounds, this game, which is good. But, the other team, Cat had 10 and Robinson had 10. That's 20 to his 13, right? So he's got to do better than that, right? And 19 points just isn't good enough. Because look at Brunson. If you're going to be the star of your team, right? you got to do better than 19 points. I'm sorry, you just got to.
Yeah. So, I totally think that's true, and I think part of it. I mean, like you said earlier, it's just not a great ISO score when it comes to you need a basket. Right. Is he going to get to the paint? And it's like, what do you clamp up playoff defense? You can basically foul,
right? And so who does San Antonio have? Who's that ISO? Guaranteed, you need the bucket.
Well, if Dylan Harper gets a jump shot, it would be him.
He was their best option besides, right?
For sure.
Fox, I would think, could be good, but he wasn't in this
Yeah, he's
series. So you know, who is the proven go-to guy in
I
Carson to
think
get
John
the
Harper
best?
gets a jump shot and he's lethal.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like if he shoots really well from three, like
yeah,
what are you doing? Like you can't guard him.
yeah.
He is super athletic, you know. And same with Castle, honestly. And Castle can shoot,
Right.
you know, not in game five apparently, but in general.
Yeah.
You know. So I think they have a bright future for sure. And I just think it's one of those things where, you know, you say Wemby is probably like could be the greatest player of all time. And I don't know, man. I just think it's one of those things where he just is really set in his play style, you know, and it's like you don't want to fuck with the dude's play style and try to make him play like Joel Embiid or anything. Like
Well,
even if he gains
no,
50
no,
pounds, you know.
he's not going to be like, the big guy necessarily in the post like Shaq or something ever, right?
Shaq, yeah.
Right. But he can be better than he is right now at that, you know?
That's definitely
and,
true.
and certainly not get pushed out by Robinson for offensive tip out, right? That pretty much cost them the game right there, man. If they'd gotten that board, it could have been a very different outcome. You got to get that rebound, man. That was using the defensive rebounder position. He was in the front position and he gets pushed under the basket. You can't let that happen. You just can't.
That's definitely true, but like aside from like I think he can grow in that area, but that's like not really his game. And the way like he wants to play, like I feel like he's kind of at his ceiling already, you know? Like when it comes to like shooting threes and like shooting pull-up minis and shit like that, like he's like still 7'4", and like it makes it hard to guard, but he can't dribble around like runs.
No, and that's why he's not. He shouldn't be. That's why I don't like it the way it is right now. He gets the ball at the top of the key or at the elbow, and then he tries to drive on. He can't even get around Cat or Robinson. So, and then you got little guys reaching in and knocking it away. He's got to set up down low, right?
But you can tell like that's just not the game he wants to play. You know, like he really does want to sit out by the, you know, the 3-point line and be the, you know, the ball handler kind of, and like, you know, it's kind of like what we were talking about with LeBron to an extent. You know, it's like sometimes it feels like LeBron's a detriment to the team.
I know,
especially like point guards on the team because he like
kills point guards.
It's a ball. It's like.
Well, he's changed now. This last year, he did.
Yes, this last year. I mean, when you have Doncic on your team, you kind of, you know, and it's what do you want? But you know, like definitely, I think there's a long period on his career, especially with the Lakers, where like guards would go to the Lakers.
Oh no, just that's
crazy because it's like they would just never get the fucking ball. It would literally be LeBron coast to coast every possession. That's like, look, it's great, but you know,
no, you might have a point there because, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I still think if he got stronger, again, if nothing else, he'd be a better defensive rebounder. You know what I mean? And that could only help them, right?
That's true.
Yeah. But if we can't just wrap this up because we're getting close to the end here, got to say something about the UFC extravaganza at the White House here. I'll ask you first what you think about it because I've got my thoughts about that.
I mean, you know, it's like any of these other stunts. It's like it's just ridiculous. Like he's taking it ridiculously far, you know.
When's he going to go out hunting to show what a man he is?
I know. Well, I'm waiting for the military parade. You know, like the really big.
He's been wanting that from his first term.
Sticking out of the hatch of the M1 Abrams, doing a fucking Hitler salute. Like, I'm sure it's gonna, you know, before I die.
See, I want to say, so I'm no elitist. Like, we like sports. Like, I like UFC, man.
UFC is sick.
I did boxing. I did kickboxing. I did a little jiu-jitsu too. I mean, I'm into sports, and it's a form of sport. I like the science of it, the athleticism. I'm not into the blood and gore and the violence, and it kind of turns me off a little for the people are so into that because I like the sport of it. And I'm not this elitist saying, oh, we shouldn't, that's like we're too good for that. No, not at all. I don't have any problem with the president liking that, or even like going to a UFC bout if that's what he wants to make an appearance. It just seems cheesy to build a venue for it on the White House lawn. And
worse than cheesy.
Yes,
man.
I know.
It's like, dude, are we serious?
I mean, it could be baseball. It could
like
be
we get
football.
it, bro. You got a small ass penis, bro.
No,
like
it could be basketball, and I would still think it's just this.
No, you talk about compensating. It's like there's one thing to like drive a big truck. It's another thing to like watch. Be like one of those guys who's way into UFC, even though you don't do it. You know what I'm saying? It's like anyone gets in the fucking ring with Trump and he's getting his ass killed. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But it's like, it's one thing to compensate by just being hella into UFC, even though you can't do it yourself. It's another thing to just do that.
Well, obviously he's pandering to his base, right? And he knows that it's
Yeah.
like it's a good case of owning the lids because all these elitist lids are going to be decrying, the violence and the lowbrow nature of UFC. Right, right, yeah, what or and that it's so lowbrow or whatever. It's like, hey, I don't have any problem with the lowbrowness. Like I said, I like sports. It's cool. And politicians on both sides of the aisle have pandered. Infamously or famously, the Prime Minister of England, Harold Wilson, when the Beatles, probably was the biggest thing that England had. They were a crumbling empire, economic problems. So he latched onto them and tried to, ride their coattails. Look, it's real common, right? So I don't have any problem with that. It's just so naked, so over the top. And it's for-profit thing on the people's like it just that kind of bothers me. It does kind of degrade. And again, it could be any sport, not just UFC. It could have been, like I said, been baseball, basketball. It could have been lawn bowling. I would still find it, just not appropriate.
Yeah, but it's worse that it's UFC because UFC has that reputation to be like the macho.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
Like, put the libs in their place because
Yeah.
they are fucking men. Like
Yeah,
we are.
exactly.
Throw some chest hair. Let's fucking kill each
Well,
other. on
yes,
the way out.
and that's why I see it. It's just so obviously a con and for show and all that. Trump to get that base that's what grosses me out about it. But
But at least it's UFC and it's not my favorite sport, basketball, because that's a Libby sport according to Trump.
you know why, right?
Well, yeah, because it's full of black.
Exactly. That's why the NBA. That's the main one of the look. I state this as a fact, but we've seen plenty of evidence for that. That's why Larry Bird resuscitated the NBA because in the 70s they were saying it was too black, cocaine addicts, all that stuff. Yeah, so
All there is shit about. Yeah,
exactly.
it's ridiculous.
So well, you could have a hockey game there next time. Then how's that? Hey, I like hockey too, man. Okay, go Boston Bruins. Yeah. All right. Anyway, that doesn't mean I'm from Boston, brother. All right. So let's wrap this up because we've been talking for a while, but that was cool. Hope you enjoyed that. We'll be back next time to talk about who knows what, politics, sports, movies, could be music,
Could be anything.
anything.
Yeah.
We got our perspectives, and hopefully you're enjoying this. All right. So long.
Later.